to give an attempt at a more concise, coherent idea behind how I want my stories to turn out. I would like my characters to somehow live for themselves, not exist to entertain an imaginary audience, not just to play out a role that I, the writer, have for them in my mind and then just disappear into obscurity, and their role being just to be this window that exists solely for the purpose of explaining everything happening in the world to someone who is not present there. It is most definitely just a pipe dream. I would have to use my brain and skill as the writer to fully craft a world without relying on a narrator, a tool that, or my interpretation of that tool that I simply do not want to use, or dumb down questions and answers the real world versions of my characters would never utter if they have had actually spent their whole lives living in their own world and were not born right as the story had begun. And I've mentioned a few ways around that, but none of those that I can think of are foolproof in any way, shape, or form, or even applicable in certain scenarios. I would have to drip feed the backstory through multiple sources. Same with the characters themselves, not just list out their characteristics, their personality within their first meeting, and I would have to actually think through every single instance of them, dropping some hints, some small information in a situation when it would make sense for them to reveal that part of their, character, and all that, at least now, seems like this insurmountable mountain of tasks, of ideas that I need to keep an eye out for. All I can do is hope for the best, that I'll be able to satisfy at least a portion of these requirements that I have for a story from myself without falling into new traps, new pitfalls that right now I'm not even aware of. For now, though, I don't want actors in my stories, these marionettes dancing, prancing around exactly as I want them to, and I'll leave it at that. The last chapter had the conclusion to the great gathering of clubs and their clash with the condors. And now we get to see Speedy rushing towards the rest of the club, holding his stamp collection and bringing with him a grand philatelic curiosity. Opening his book, he shows the other boys a blue Austrian five-penny, asking if anyone had ever seen that, since they all are, usually green. And then he mentions the source of this particular stamp, and it's our old acquaintance, the swindler, apparently selling these for a sum that most adults at that point could take, but slightly more consequential for young people such as the rapid arrows. And so they decide to investigate this mystery since a blue five-penny and one where the swindler is somehow involved sure deserves at least some attention, and their steps lead them and their loyal friend Slyboots to a philately shop where they will ask a professional for his opinion and a professional assessment. So when Mirek and Speedy enter, the rest promise to wait for them outside and catch them when they are being thrown out for bringing in such suspicious goods. But the shopkeeper's reaction is slightly different than that. He does his appraisal and simply cannot believe his own eyes, since everything seems to be in place. No signs of forgery, the serration fits, the text, the paper, everything seems to be in place, just the color. So when he excitedly asks Speedy if he would be willing to sell this stamp to him, straight up asking him for a price, Speedy shows focus and restraint and simply informs the old man that a boy in their street is selling them for 5 Czech crown per, and he can just go and get one. When outside, smug Speedy shakes his collection at Redcap, the author of the aforementioned catching when they are being flown out, prays that nothing like that will be necessary, and that he managed to sell the stamp for a whole million. While leaving, they notice the swindler and one of his friends, Peppa, who's apparently a student of a school that specializes in chemistry. So the picture is starting to shape up, but before coming to any conclusions, Mirek wants to just ask some questions, probe around a bit. But before they manage to catch up to the pair, they each go their own way. Just Peppa reminds the swindler to be at his apartment by 7 p.m. and to make sure that no one is following him. And while it is clear that there will be no questioning, at least for now, Mirek deems it unnecessary considering the hint that they've just received, and their next steps will obviously be to wait in front of Peppa's yard for the swindler's arrival and then continue their investigation from there. And so the night falls and everyone is hidden somewhere in the yard waiting, stealth fully engaged for the two boys to engage in their activities. And so when the pair appears, Peppa seems to be urging the swindler, calling him a scaredy cat, reassuring him that nothing can go wrong, but still decides to at least put a blanket over the one window that leads to the room where they are going to be doing whatever they are going to be doing there. And that is a signal for the rapid arrows to move and find out what's happening behind the closed door, quietly carry over a crate to use as a step for Yarka and Redcap to climb onto. Then Redcap will climb onto Yarka's shoulders and hopefully reach the edge of the window that's not covered by the blanket. The crate, though, is not exactly cooperative and its structure fails when both of them are standing on top of it, leading to a crash and a rather loud sound that the hard-working bees upstairs do notice but dismiss as something that isn't related to them in any way and that they need to continue working. And so a plan B has to be formed, which is building a human pyramid, three as a foundation, then Yindra, then Redcap, and despite Speedy's complaints over a weight Atlas would not want to carry, Redcap manages to drag himself all the way up and then see over the blanket and even hear that Peppa discovered some solution that apparently changes some green printer color into blue. Redcap doesn't wait, shouts at them that everything is clear now, and the Rapid Arrows move to apprehend the now two entrepreneurs and stop their creative ways of making money. The swindler seems nervous, but Peppa tries to save the operation by sharing the secret with the Rapid Arrows, offering them the solution so that they can also enjoy the benefits, but it is apparent that he doesn't know who the Rapid Arrows are because he is swiftly and mercilessly refused, and our paragons of justice force these two boys to refund everyone, come clean the same way the swindler had to when he was running his successful lottery. And the last panel is the old man, the owner of the philately shop, laughing to himself and shaking his own head at himself for believing that a five-penny could be blue, and that he truly was wondering what was that all about. Should have trusted his instincts. And this is where I'm going to stop. Next video, more world building, storytelling, characterization, and then more rapid arrows.